for those of you who may not know who I am, my name is P, like a sweet pea. And I am the organizer for Ravencore Coven up in Palm Beach County. And today I am going to share an extremely adaptive tea ritual with you.
Nice.
That you can, yeah, I'm excited about it too. I love tea. This can be as in-depth or as simplistic as you need it to be. You can use it and adapt it for whatever your emotional or your physical, your spiritual needs are. There's basically very few rules, and it's super customizable with just no limits. And sometimes that kind of magic stresses me out because it's like, I would like a little bit of foundation, like, oh, just go do whatever your heart desires. It doesn't really cut it for me. So I like frameworks and concepts that I can build within, like when you're building a Sim City. So
love that.
I look at it that way. So I'm going to describe a bare bones functional foundation that you can build on with really any tea. You could do this with coffee too if you wanted to, but it might not be as effective. But really just any tea. So to start off, I have all of my notes. Let me get myself together here. I'm out of water, that's gonna suck. Okay. So today we're gonna focus on just kind of a general vibe of self-care, just being chill about it. We're all in year 6 of 2020 at this point, so we don't need, you know, we need to, right? Yeah, we're all there. We're all right there.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of adapt this tea ritual to be focused a little bit on self-care. And to do that, we're going to make chai. I was going to do it from scratch with all of the fancy ingredients, and I don't have them. They did not arrive in time, but I have a pre-mixed loose leaf chai here from Adagio Teas. You don't have to, so the first thing I want to explain about tea is just a little bit of the background. You don't have to have the best tea. You don't have to make it from scratch for it to be ritualistically appropriate. You don't have to do loose leaf if that's not your jam. It just happens to be mine. You can use literally any tea. You can even use dried herbs to make your own herbal tea. It really doesn't matter. So I chose, originally had chosen chai for the ingredients list here, which includes black tea, cinnamon, cardamom, cloves, star anise, black peppercorns, ground nutmeg, ground ginger, vanilla, brown sugar, milk, and plain like castor sugar. So what I love about this, specifically using chai, is that almost all of these ingredients have magical properties that specifically lend themselves to things like protection, love, luck, courage. Black tea in particular is really good for riches, courage, and strength. Cinnamon is great for healing and psychic powers. Cardamom is excellent for love and lust. So is ginger, also for money and power. Like every angle you take at this, nutmeg for, you know, for luck or money, black peppercorns for protection, every angle you come at for literally every ingredient in your basic chai tea revolves around protecting yourself, caring for yourself, and loving yourself. So it's really an excellent choice for the self-type ritual. The first thing, before we start directly into the ritual, is I want you to know a little bit about tea leaves. There are so many different types of tea, and it can be a little overwhelming, but the key is to remember that there's actually one type of tea. It's like when you're learning how to knit, there's actually only one stitch. You either do it the front way, the knit stitch, or you do it the back way, the purl stitch. And everything else that you build, including all of those crazy cables, is all just a variation on one of those two approaches to the same stitch. It's the same with tea. There's only one tea leaf. All of the teas in the world, if it's caffeinated, it is from one plant, only one plant. And you get from white to black tea, depending on how that plant, how specifically that leaf is, how much processing happened, how much drying, and how much roasting or processing of that leaf took place. So the longer you roast it, the more caffeine you get. It's the opposite of coffee. So black tea has the longest roast. It is the darkest the version of this leaf, and it will have the most caffeine. Whereas if you, the darker the roast in the coffee, you're burning the caffeine out of it. So it's not quite the same. Fun fact, right?
Pretty cool.
So basically, they go black, it goes white, which is minimal processing, green teas, which is an average amount of processing, oolong, which is in between green and black, and black tea, which is the darkest tea you get. There are other variations in there, of course, but those are like the core standard same leaf tea junctions that you get. Every other tea that you find, like chamomile, most of your Twinings, Earl Grey is based on a black tea, but like the chamomiles and stuff, those are herbal teas, and they call them teas just because it all falls under the same, I am putting this dead herb into liquid and making and heating it to make a drink. If that's the only definition of tea, then absolutely they qualify. There's nothing wrong with calling it a tea. It just doesn't have that leaf in it, and that's totally fine. So just a little bit about the background there. So the first thing we're gonna talk about, I'm sorry, what? Oh, nobody, okay. So basically, to make tea, you have your dried tea, and you have hot water that has been boiled. It's important that you actually boil the water, and you do it on a stovetop or in a kettle, like an electric kettle of some kind. You don't want to microwave your tea. You don't want to microwave the water to make the tea. And when you make your tea, it is hot water to dry tea. You don't put the tea in the water and then heat it up. It will destroy the tea. It will not taste good at all. It won't even taste remotely close to tea. So that is the general process. What I love about this is that you can make that really in depth. Some people, you can just use tap water, but it will change the flavor of your tea. I recommend that you use, especially if you're going to do this for a ritualistic purpose, that you either use filtered water, or you can actually use filtered water and then make moon water over a full moon, say, the night before or whatever, and then use your moon water filtered to put that in the kettle and just really charge it up. That's always fun. So to get started with our tea today, I'm going to cast a little circle because it is a ritual, and I have, I'm in my little ritual space. So if you would like to join me in that, I welcome you. Here it is. Very disorganized. All right, so for me, this is north, this way. And I'm not going to be shifting around. I'm just going to sit here and just kind of push myself in the directions that I need to be. I'm also of the mindset that less is more. I don't do a lot of sing-song rhymes when I do rituals. If that's your thing, that's cool. I've actually written a couple of different options that you could choose to include as we move forward. I do a lot of my work almost completely silent, which is not really conducive for what we're doing here live on video today. But that said, in the context of minimalism and busy mom life, when I call the corners, I use myself to do it. I don't look for representations of the elements. Everything that we are as representations of the elements exists within our bodies at the core. So I reach within myself to find those things. And with that in mind, I say, to the north, earth and minerals deep in our bones, I am earth. And to the east, air, my breath, my spirit, my words. To the west, to the south, excuse me. To the south is fire, my synapses firing as I try to regain my thoughts and not screw this up for you. To the west. Water, the blood of my body as it flows, completing the circle throughout my whole being. From above, where I look to the future, to below, where I find my gods in my past, and from within, where it is me in the now, I close my circle. All right, My circles come with Wi-Fi, guys, so if you have any glitches, we have a problem. Okay, so we have our circle, and we've talked a little bit about the ingredients choices that you can make, why we chose what we chose with the Thai tea that I'm using here today. Again, grab your favorite herbal encyclopedia. I favor Scott Cunningham, and look at the herbs and spices that you already have in your cabinet. Hibiscus, if you have some of that laying around, you can use that all by itself to make tea. Rose petals, absolutely. Chamomile, your little sleepy time twinnings that's been there for like 8.5 years, maybe update that. They do go bad eventually. It'll just be dusty powder, but there's nothing wrong with getting another little box of sleepy time. That stuff is amazing. You don't have to be a tea snob. You don't have to have a high quality thing. You just have to have something to put that, that is safe to ingest, and it can go in the hot water. That makes it a tea. So once you have decided what it is you're going to do, and again, we're going to be doing a little bit with self-care here. I have all of those ingredients that I listed previously are all in the same packet here. If you have decided to get the ingredients themselves, all you will need is some kind of vessel to contain them. You don't even necessarily have to crush them all. Like if you have a whole star anise, just put the whole star anise in a piece of muslin cloth and tie it up at the top, drop it in just like you're making broth. Same concept. You can do it with a piece of muslin cloth. You can do it with like one of those actual little metal tea strainer filters that goes into cups. There's a lot. You could just put it loose in there and then strain it out with a lid. I've done that before. And the timing of how long you are letting your tea steep for once the water is boiled will depend entirely upon what type of tea you're making. Because we're working with a black tea today, the average steep is 3 to 4 minutes. You don't want to go more than that because you will burn the tea leaves and it will taste yucky. So I have this little dewjobber here that my husband gave me. I am that obsessed with tea that this is my portable on the go. I have tea everywhere. Traffic jam, cup of tea. As long as I have hot water, I have access to tea. Or two, comes with 2 cups. So here is my little pot, and here is my little strainer. It's a little metal mesh strainer that we are going to put some of our tea in. Where did I write that down? I have the actual ingredients and directions for making a whole chai, including like how to sweeten the milk and if you want whipped cream. I will post this to the page later on so that you guys can actually make it from scratch if you choose to. I'm going to put the tea into here. I just use my fingers. Some people, don't want to get your fingers in there. I'm not some people. I don't really care. So I have put, I don't know if you can see, about yay much, a good tablespoon into this little guy here. Now, the awesome thing about using loose leaf is when you use a bagged tea, you get 1 cup out of it. It is 1 steep, 1 use, done in the trash. You can get, depending on the tea, with the black tea, you can get a good 3 cups out of this. Like you can reuse it 3 or 4 times. Some of the Assam blacks, you can go up to even 10 before they start to burn, which is excellent. So while the quality is higher and it is more expensive to purchase loose leaf, you actually get way more out of it and it's cheaper in the long run. So that's cool. So now we have our hot water, which because it's a black tea, I put the kettle on all the way until it was singing at me. And there is a little trick that you can do if you also wanted to include divination with your tea time. When you are, the simplest form of using divination, tasseomancy is when you read the leaves, and we're not going to talk about that today. I don't teach that yet, but I will in the future. But the simplest way to approach a little divination with your tea, if you chose to bring that into the part of a ritual, is when you put the kettle on, you kind of imbibe the water with your yes or no question. And when the kettle boils, it will sing. Assuming you're using a kettle that will whistle. That's the whole point. You need one that whistles. If it whistles and the whistle is continuous and it's not broken up, that's a yes answer. And if it's choppy, it's a no answer. So that's fun. So we have our hot water, and we're going to say some words over your tea. Now, like I said before, I'm kind of a silence is golden girl. So I usually just have a moment of peace within myself, center my body, get right with Jesus, whatever you need, whatever your jam is, do that for whatever you're going to bring into yourself. So because we're doing this as a self-care ritual, I might take a deep cleansing breath and remind myself that I am not responsible for all of the hurt in the world around me, that I am allowed to have this moment of peace for myself, because if I put my own airplane mask on first, then I can better assist my family. And that matters. It's not selfish, it's self-care. That's the kind of stuff I need in my head. If you are a little more of the Wiccan vibe where you like the sing-songy stuff, I wrote a couple of different options for you. So we say, as we pour the tea, fill up our little cup and start to let it steep. I'm going to set a timer on my phone for 4 minutes. Set a timer for 4 minutes, please.
Okay, 4 minutes and counting.
So I would normally take these 4 minutes, assuming that I was left untoddlered for 4 solid minutes. I would take these 4 minutes for myself to breathe. In reality, I'm probably going to give out 2.5 of those, and that's cool. That's the life I chose. So you take what you get, and you take it with a smile. If you are of the chanting variety, I have written, I lift this teacup to my lips. I drink it slow in tiny sips to melt away my obstacles and welcome all things possible. So I also, is Birch here? She's going to be so mad at me if I don't.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I'm doing this for you because I love you.
Okay, I love you too, P. Thank you.
When I first started to sit down, since we've got 3.5 minutes, since when I first started to try to write this ritual, I got it stuck in my head, and my magic is a little weird. I do take it seriously, and I don't mean to be offensive, but my brain is an odd place, and my gods are all gods of death, and a lot of them are the lowest. So they're the drunken party gods. So we don't we take things with a little bit of cheek here. So the first ritual that I wrote was actually to the tune of Get Low, to the window, to the walls. So I will include a version of that with the recipe. I will not be reading that out loud because it does have profanity. We'll just say that it goes, y'all drink tea, and then you can finish it yourself. So yeah, that was the first thing that I wrote for this. So that's like, for me, that still has all of those vibes for me. So like, I don't find this, like when people think of self-care, it's very calming, it's very soothing. For me, this is what self-care is for me. So when I do this ritual, I hear, I hear the tea fills up my cup and it brings me mad good. Like I do the whole rap sequence that I've written in my head, and I find it very powerful and charging, and I'm getting busy over here. But calming it is not. So really, again, you can have this go whatever way you need. It's all about your self-care, what you need it to be. And I needed it to be get low. So that's what it was. For you, you might prefer the I lift this teacup to my lips version, or the silence. So we have just a few more moments. 1 more minute before our chai is ready. It smells amazing. Does anybody have any questions about anything remotely tea related? Cricket, 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 cricket.
No, you covered it. we have a question over here.
What are the lyrics to that Get Low song? We want to hear.
Are you sure? Am I allowed to curse? Because I'll say it if y'all. And I cannot rap. I am too white for this shit. So I say, to the corners, we call. The tea fills up my cup. It brings me mad good luck. I gave out all my fucks. So go drink tea, motherfucker. I said go drink tea, goddamn. So that is my almost daily tea ritual in my head.
Well done.
Thank you. If you cannot take your magic with a little bit of jest, you are taking all of your life too seriously. So this little guy here is ready to go, and I have a little lid that I'm going to squish on here so that the tea stays inside. It's got these little awesome wrapped edges because this is super hot now. So, but I just put my fingers here, and then I can put my finger right on top of the lid, and I don't know if I can tilt this with you seeing, but there are some holes that allow me to pour.
Yeah.
Strain the tea right out. So now I have my glorious, and here I'll pour one for you guys. Well, that is pretty much it. So I mean, enjoy your coffee and your drink. I'll close the circle up here in a few seconds. I'm finish my little cup. I am super glad you enjoyed it, and I hope that at least one of you actually had a cup of tea. Come by. Okay, so we have made the tea. And now we thank the tea. Now that we have drank the tea, we thank the tea and whatever deities or intentions or entities that you may have chosen to call into it. I suppose I should probably be thanking Little Wayne. And so you've had your tea, you've had your moment to reflect, you've had your moment of silence, or you've had your window to the walls, or whatever it is that you've done. And it's time to close our circle. It's rude to leave it open. Don't just walk away. So. All right. From within us. When I close the circle after a tea ritual, I should say, I usually use the same word over and over again. So whatever I've decided to focus on for this particular ritual, that is the word I would reuse again and again. So originally this was like, oh, we're going to do self-care. So this is going to be really uplifting and peaceful. And so I wrote this down here to say peace every time, but that's not really what happened here today. And that's okay because life happens and you got to adapt. So if we were going to pick one word to kind of describe the vibe of how this particular pot of tea ended up being made, what would you say that word would be?
Peace.
Rad.
Rad?
Yeah.
Rad. Okay, I'm going to go with rad peace. That works for me.
All right, there you go.
All right.
Let's go get it. From within us, rad peace. From below us, rad peace. From above us, rad ass peace. To the west, rad peace. To the southwest, rad peace. To the east, rad peace. This is to the north, rad peace. And with that rad peace, I call this circle open. I'm gonna drink your tea, y'all. Good stuff, good stuff.